You jerk off?
Do I jerk off? Yeah. Yeah, I jerk off, yeah.
The Wolf of Wall Street is filled with very crazy scenes, whether it's Margot Robbie, Jonah Hill, or even DiCaprio himself. But this scene with Matthew McConaughey is arguably the most iconic, and not because it's loud, nor because it's outrageous, but because in only 6 minutes it explains everything that follows in the movie, and everything that goes wrong later on. We see that two men sit at a table, they talk, they eat, and they engage in notorious conversation. But by the time the scene ends, we can tell that Jordan Belfort's future is already sealed. The Wolf of Wall Street was directed by Martin Scorsese in 2013, and it is a film defined by excess. But this specific scene, with Mark Hanna explaining to a young Jordan Belfort what it actually means to be a broker, is different. And there's no trading floor, there's no shouting, there's no chaos. Rather, it's quite calm, almost mundane. And that's what makes it dangerous, because Mark Hanna isn't just talking to Jordan Belfort, but he is Jordan Belfort just a few years into the future. And I think this is not a simple conversation between colleagues, this is his first initiation into the world of Wall Street. The first thing that happens in the scene is not dialogue, it's sound. Before a single word is spoken, we see that Mark Hanna is humming. A low, rhythmic, almost ritualistic hum. And it's strange, it's intimate, but it feels kind of weird. And it immediately disorients both Jordan Belfort and us, the audience. Jordan looks forward, almost towards the camera, not in confusion but in disbelief. This moment matters because it wasn't scripted. Matthew McConaughey improvised it, and when Scorsese saw it, he decided to include it in the film.
I've been doing it for a while, but it's just something I do to relax myself, get out of my head. Before we moved on, Leonardo raised his hand. He goes, hey, hang on a second. He goes, what's that thing you're doing before the scene? And I told him, and he goes, what if you put that in the scene? I was like, yeah, great.
So that slight glance, that hesitation, is real. And from the very first few seconds, this film and this scene is telling us that something is important. Jordan has stepped into a world with rules he doesn't yet understand. But look at where they are. A high-floor restaurant, bright light, expensive food, and the city beneath them. I don't think this is just a lunch, it's more like a statement, because they're physically elevated, above the streets, above the noise, and above everyone else. Wall Street is not shown as chaotic here.
I'm not fucking leaving!
It's serene, controlled, and civilized, and that calm I think is quite deceptive. Also, it is important to note that each of them are in their own clear frame right now, and this shows that each of them is representing their own unique world. Mark Hanna is representing the indulgence of Wall Street, whereas Belfort is representing the innocence and mundanity of the outside world. And also you can see this on their suits. Hanna has a dark navy pinstripe suit, whereas Belfort has a more reasonable steel plain suit. Both are good suits, but it is clear to see who has the deeper pockets, and this is already a power dynamic that was shown in the film. And then comes the first real fracture between them, because Mark Hanna casually introduces a white powder in public at a restaurant, we all know what this is, and he treats it as routine. There is no secrecy, no urgency, and no fear whatsoever. However, Jordan declines it. He says no, and this is crucial, because at this point early in the film, Jordan is still representing the outside world. He's clean, polite, and well-intentioned. And then he asks a reasonable question. How can you do this on the job?
You're able to do drugs during the day and still function, still do your job.
And Hannah's answer reframes everything, because he doesn't see this as vices, they're tools. This is not an indulgence, but rather a performance enhancement tool. This is the first clear dissonance between them, because Jordan sees work as responsibility, whereas Hanna is seeing work as endurance.
No!
And same thing with the alcohol. Jordan says no to it.
I'm good with water for now, though. Thank you.
It's his first day on Wall Street. Give him time.
He sticks to water. He's still a very good boy, and he's still representing the normal world. And then we see the line that quietly destroys the illusion, because when Jordan suggests that they should trade for the benefit of clients, Hanna shuts it down instantly.
You make your clients money at the same time, it's advantageous to everyone, correct?
Fuck the clients. Your only responsibility is to put meat on the table.
In this business, clients do not matter. It's just a numbers game. Only activity matters. It is not the outcome or the value that you're generating for them, only to trade more, to generate more commissions. And this is a worldview where morality is optional because incentives are already set. Up until now, Scorsese uses a classic shot reverse shot. Each man occupies his own side of the frame. No backs intrude, no overlap. Visually, they are on opposite sides of the spectrum. But then something subtle happens. Hannah leans in. The camera doesn't move, but the framing does. Without a zoom or a cut, Scorsese is telling us that Hannah is trying to convince Belfort. He turns a wide shot into a close-up. We stay at the table and we stay complicit. And then suddenly, the magic word appears. Fugazi.
You know what a Fugazi is?
No, Fugazi. It's fake.
Yeah, Fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a fairy dust.
The word Fugazi was already popularized years earlier in the movie Donnie Brasco, and it means fake, illusory, not real. In this context, we can see that Fugazi represents that markets are unknowable, and certainty is the illusion. So if truth doesn't exist, persuasion becomes the product. And here, body language is super important, because as Hannah speaks, his gestures grow larger, his posture expands, he fills up the space. Jordan, by contrast, is contracting, his shoulders are in and his head is tilted. And then, for the first time in the scene, we see that Hannah's back enters Jordan's frame. And this, visually, is the most important thing that happens in the scene, because this is showing that Hannah is actually inside the head of Jordan Belfort. He is actually convincing him now. This is super important because the conversion has begun. The camera positioning is telling us what is going inside Jordan's head. Before, Jordan was saying no to everything that Hannah was offering.
No, thank you, though.
But now, because he's inside his head, he seems to like what he's hearing. And then Hannah explains very simply how commissions work. Basically, the more you trade, the more money you get. And then something subtle happens. Jordan's face changes. The innocence fades away. A smirk appears. This shows that he likes the simplicity of it. The fact that he could make money with no effort? Come on, this is a no-brainer. Anyone would choose this. So Jordan is already convinced. And because this conversion has been successful, Hannah can now go back to his frame.
You jerk off?
Yeah. Yeah, I jerk off, yeah.
I myself, I jerk off at least twice a day.
His refusal is highlighting how far he is from belonging to this elite of Wall Street. Then Hannah says something revealing. He reframes the sorry itself.
I want to. That's not why I do it. I do it because I fucking need to.
This is not about pleasure, but it's about power. Money is not the tool, it's the object of fixation that many people have. And suddenly, identity collapses into dominance. Jordan looks away again, likely towards Scorsese, as Matthew McConaughey is improvising. But now, Jordan is no longer resisting. And then there's a small moment that most people miss. Hannah offers Jordan an olive.
How kitty?
And Jordan accepts it. It's the first thing he says yes to. This might seem small, but it's very important because he was saying no to every single occasion before.
I'm good with water for now. No, thank you, though.
And now suddenly, after that conversion, he says yes for the first time. So now it will be very easy to say yes to everything that will follow later in the film. And the scene ends the same way it began, with a humming. Only now, Jordan is leaning in actively. He's participating. Later in the film, he leads the same ritual himself. The student becomes the teacher, and the culture replicates. We can see that this scene marks the beginning of Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street, because at the beginning of the scene, he wasn't participating with the humming. But now, after Hannah has convinced him, he's actively participating at the end of it. And we can see this later in the film, where he actually becomes the embodiment of Wall Street.